Guys, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Auto Dealer Live. We're getting started here in the next few minutes, but before we do, I want to let you know who's on the show. We got a good one for you today, as always. We've got a great topic. We're talking millennials. We're talking young people like me, even though I'm kind of old at this point, but you know, we're talking about how do you motivate, how do you recruit, how do you hire, retain young employees, but really anybody, right? It's a challenge in the auto industry. How do we overcome it? How do we face it? And we've got some really talented leaders on who are doing a really good job with this. So to start off, we got Justin Jarek, friend of the show. He's the GM over at Boniface Ayers Kia. He's going to tell us about what he's doing, and it's really working for him. Plus, we've got Harrison Vaughn, GM North Park Chevrolet. It's a big show today, so we got a lot of names to go down. We got Fred Grail, president owner of MIG Chrysler. We've got Corey Thomas, GM at Van York Nissan, and finally, last but not least, Brad Wise, GM over here at Furman Chevrolet. So we got an all-star lineup. It's going to be really good. Stay tuned. We got a great topic, and this is Auto Dealer Live.
Oh, it went off. Never mind.
What is up? 3:30
How's it going?
Eastern Standard Time. What's up, Mr. Brad Oob?
Well, I'm doing good. How about you, baby?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Doing wonderful. We've been busy today. You've been in there setting things up. I mean, you've been in there in interviews and meetings all day in the conference room.
We got chapter 2 in the books, baby.
Come on, man.
It's coming.
Well, congratulations. I can't wait to read it. Can't wait for us to launch that in one of the many places, obviously, here on the show. You guys are going to want to get a hold of that. And man, let me tell you something. You know what? Every single week we talk about not being able to one up the week before, but I think today's panel may just one up it. We got 5 people on the panel today that are all going to be Skyped in with us.
That's awesome, man. And looks like they're all A players too. So
yeah, we do. We got all over the country. We got Tampa, Florida. We have High Point, North Carolina. Bellefontaine, Ohio. That's a word right there. Bellefontaine, Ohio. Castroville, Texas, and Melbourne, Florida. So we got the whole area, man, just represented here, the whole nation. So exciting stuff. We got Kia, Chevy, we got a Chrysler, Nissan, and another Chevy represented, and of course Mazda. So, but a good show today. We're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about something I think is going to get a lot of traction. I think it's going to probably get a lot of feedback. We want you guys to share the show today and weigh in, because we're going to talk about how do you lead in a millennial-dominated employment pool, right? How do you lead them? How do you hire them? How do you keep them? How do you motivate them? And that's I say right. Them like, we're talking about like they have 5 eyes or something. They don't. Many of you are them, but here's the deal, man. There's a lot of people that are trying to dangle maybe an old school carrot in front of individuals that might be motivated differently today. And I tell you what, man, if you can tap into how to motivate today's workforce, you know what? I think my millennials are outperform the ones that work here. They will outperform other generations that I've been around in some cases. So I think it's just how do you motivate them?
Yeah, I think I was having this discussion with one of our GMs the other day, and I think what it is, a lot of people that are in the positions of leadership are struggling with it because they came up under the old guard and they just kind of want to go, okay, we've got to do it the way we always did it. But, everybody's motivated a different way, and the economy's different, and the mindsets are different, and it's not that they're bad people. I think people want to automatically go to they're not as good as they used to be. You just got to get into their thought process, and we're going to get into that on the show.
Yeah, and something, if you really think about it too, we were younger, and then the reality is
they probably said, how do you motivate those dimwits?
They 100% said it. The difference is there just wasn't the social presence. There wasn't the 24/7 news cycle. You didn't see about it, read about it, hear about it 24/7 like we all do now. It was just different. different. But the reality is this, man. I mean, and you know what I did? I didn't make fun of, but I talked about. I disagreed with the way that my dad and the way different individuals did things. I didn't always agree. Sometimes they shot down my ideas, and it was just it was probably nothing similar or nothing short of the same than what we're dealing with today. And I tell you what, if you figured it out then, then you were successful, and many people didn't, and they went out of business. Why else would companies? I think one of the things that we underestimate, we always like when we talk about companies, and I don't know what the statistics are. You may know, but we've all heard that, companies that were around 100 years ago, and there's a small percentage of them that'll be around, now or 20
5% is what I read the other day.
5%?
Yeah, 5%.
I think we always, without question, center that around product or around innovation. But how much of that centered around the inability to evolve with people?
Well, I think product and innovation probably goes right alongside of that, because if you don't have a creative workforce, and creativity comes from the way you lead, and if you don't have a creative workforce, you're going to be woefully equipped for a world that no longer exists.
Absolutely. Now, saying on the flip side, we're going to talk about this today. Again, share the feed. Weigh in on this. We're going to talk about millennials. We're going to talk about how to really keep good people. What are some cutting edge ideas that these individuals are implementing at their store to do this? And right now we're sitting at a high unemployment. We just hired a few people here and are growing. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm okay with them hearing this. We've hired some of the best people that I've hired in I can't remember how long, in years, and they were available. And so there's a lot of opportunity out there. So I'd like to talk to these A players that we're going to bring on today about how are you picky? How are you not just bringing anybody in that can fog a mirror, but looking for individuals, in this day and age that are going to be able to move the needle?
I agree with that, and I think you have to become very intentional about your interview process, and you have to have a set of goals and desires and dreams that you have for that interview process, and that you have to have a set of questions that generate that, to try to generate some answers that, and if you don't hear what people get so desperate to hire, they almost give the candidate the answer that they want them to have so that they can fill the role and they can move on. And every time, and I've probably done that, and I know you've done that, and every time you do that, you have two problems, because now you got somebody in that role that's not performing. You got to move them out of that role. You lose the time that they occupied that role. Instead of it costing you 90 days, if you did the process correctly, it cost you 2 years.
Yeah, not only that, the money, the resource, the time. Another thing too, and this is just kind of getting into, again, this is like one big giant conversation on how to find the right place. You're watching right now, maybe you're sitting there in the car business and you're not currently working, and possibly you're looking for the right opportunity. I think too, Brett, and if you go through some services, they still look at it a lot of times, especially like the career builders and the Indeeds and the companies out there, like that are good companies. We found good people. We found everyone here, recently through those services. But, one of the things that we did on top of that is we incorporated video and different measures in replacements of resumes, or in addition to resume. How important is a resume today? Or I'm talking about the traditional resume that they put forth. Because I can tell you that what we implemented were some different tools in interview process, like doing some video interviews, having someone submit a video once they got to a certain place in the hiring process. I wanted to see them on their feet. And look, we live in a video world, and everyone may not have the desire to be a celebrity, so they're not posting videos every day. But if they don't know how to do one today, then we got some issues.
Well, I think it works well, especially with what you guys do, running this virtual sales unit, where you're probably wanting them to create videos to give a needs analysis and give some deal points that you can send out and to get in front of the customer and more humanize the process, because it is virtual. And that's probably a necessary skill set, I would think, for that role. And so if they can't do that, they're going to have a hard time marketing folks as it relates to the sales process.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And I meant just absolutely it is. But I was I'm looking at it from the standpoint of,
well, you're just getting outside the box.
I want to feel it. I want to, and we did some, with COVID and things like that. I mean, I'd have them all in, and we did do in-person interviews, but rather than bring in 85 people, which is probably what we got in, we did about 30 interviews via Skype or phone, and we did a lot of video interviews as well, short ones to kind of get a feel, and then set a subsequent appointment in person before we hired them. But I just think you get a good feel in somebody that is willing to do that very, very quickly. A lot of times it might fit into this subject we're talking about today. So
I think the creativity is the piece. I mean, because again, you're doing things that are not conventional. I've never been a proponent of a resume, and everybody likes a resume because somebody told them, hey, we got to have a resume.
Right.
But 99% of what's written on that resume, if you believed what they said, GDP would move up 3% on their efforts alone.
Well,
right?
not only that, we're talking about changing, right? We're talking about changing or adapting. So let's go back to how when we got started, we were close to the same age, and when we get into the workforce back in the day, resume was what you needed, but at the same time, the internet wasn't around. Again, you weren't just whipping out a phone and taking a video, and it wasn't around. So the resume, because it was print, it was a way to put down a list of what your accomplishments were. Today is just different. So I think that's all part of it. But the reality is we're doing it because we're told to. It's, hey, that's just what we're supposed to do. But this isn't doing just what it takes to get by. What I look at what we're talking about today is, how do I dominate, right? How do I get my unfair share of this market, and and hire the best, keep the best, motivate the best, right? I mean, that's
the one thing I would say, and we always talk leadership, and we talk about real things for the leaders to be able to accomplish on the. To take away from this show, but one thing I've done some speaking to universities and some recruitment things, and they asked me as an employer what I'd like to see, and I just go back to what I did when I started my professional career, and I would always research, and this is a thing I would tell the people out there looking for work, is I would research the company, then I would research the job opening that's there, and then I would start looking at what are the deliverables that I think, just in my mind, that I think that this company would like to see, and then write a little plan of how I think I can impact that and make a difference.
That's good stuff right there.
Right, and if you do that, every hiring manager, even if the results are not, because you don't know what you don't know at that point. You haven't been at that company, you haven't been involved in their things, so you may not be accurate in everything that you're saying. But the fact that you took the time to see how is my effort going to impact the end result, that's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, we got it real quick before we go into the we go into break first too, Mike, or no?
No.
Straight into panel. Okay, so before we go into panel, Brett, we got I want to make an announcement about Auto Dealer Live doing Digital Dealer this year. So
hey,
what are the dates for Digital Dealer, Mike?
October 6th and 7th.
All right, so in the middle of this, coming out of everything that this industry's come out of, this world's come out of, Digital Dealer Vegas in fall has opted to do a virtual conference, and so they're going to be, if they obviously are already, they're going to be doing workshops. I mean, the whole deal. We're going to be producing a lot of videos on a weekly basis starting next week, just putting out a lot of videos on this. But we're going to be the privilege for the Digital Dealer Conference. Auto Dealer Live is going to be one of the shows. We're going to be broadcasting live from the Digital Dealer Virtual Conference, and we're going to have some amazing guests that we're going to go hard working on to have on that show. And so every attendee is going to get the opportunity to be part of that show. So we're honored to do that as well, and we're going to be doing that. So that conference is October 6th and 7th, Mike?
That's correct. We'll be Auto Dealer Live is bookending the first day. We're in the keynote slot for the end of the first day.
Yeah, we're keynoting, Brett. We're keynoting the first day at the end. We are the keynote for the whole virtual conference. So that's pretty cool.
So the show is the keynote. Dave and I on the show is the keynote, but understand that, a little shout out to Dave Villa. Dave Villa's emceeing the whole thing. So again, I've told y'all every week, if you haven't got a chance, follow that Game Changer. Watch what he's doing on social media. Watch the impact that he's making. He's got a couple of books out already. Going to have more, and he's going to be emceeing this event. So you're going to get to see more of Dave Villa at the Digital Dealer. So I would log on and check it out.
Thank you. So that's and then we're heavily involved in that, and we're excited about it. And you know what? I think that we'll probably have no issue booking a lot of really strong guests for that show, I would imagine.
No, I would think that, and at first we were kind of bummed because it wasn't going to be in person, and I mean, you get a different thing. And I still personally would like to. I look forward to the stuff that we go back in person, but I think we'll have a higher attendance because a lot of people are hungry for automotive news. There's a lot of people that has always wanted to go that the dealer didn't budget the money for them to go that are now going to be able to attend that virtually. So I would, the general managers, the dealers, the leaders of the organization that are listening, push that out to your people because they'll get some real good information. They've got some real good virtual workshops that they can go to, and it's additional training, additional things that they can do to help improve their skill level and learn from some experts and get some ideas.
And we're going to have some tickets too. They've given us several dealer tickets, so we're going to be giving those out to dealers, to dealer personnel over the next few weeks as well for free. So we do have several passes that we've been given. So we will be talking about that starting next week. So that puts some little pressure on Mike to get everything lined up for next week's show, to have everything ready so we can start putting some videos out and talking a little bit more. That's October 6th and 7th.
Hey, Mike, take your time. We just need it by the end of the day.
Yeah, there you go. That's it?
That's it.
So is everyone ready, Mike? We'll bring them on. So Brett always does a ceremonial first question, but I guess I'll introduce them and bring them on, and then
absolutely
let Brett throw the ball out. So we got the general manager of Boniface Ayers Kia in Melbourne, Florida. No stranger to the show. Guy's breaking records. Like the freaking Karate Kid's breaking boards over his knee. We got Justin Jarrett. How about that? And now I'm put pressure on myself to think about something for
I know you got to think about something for every one of them, man.
All right. So
what are you gonna say about Wise?
Jarrett, general manager of North Park Chevrolet in Castroville, Texas. I have nothing. Actually, we got Harrison Vaughn. Then we got the president and owner of MIG Chrysler in Bellefontaine. What a cool name there, Ohio, Mr. Fred Grail. Then we have general manager. Hey, a recent good friend of mine is going to be coming on, Corey. He's a client and a friend of mine. Man, this guy's a car guy and a half. He's going to be jumping on here shortly. Corey Thomas, with general manager of Van York Nissan in High Point, North Carolina. And then we have, you know what, man, this guy right here. Come on, this guy is, you know, tell you something. Chevy is calling him for advice. That's what General Motors calling him for advice. We got executive general manager of Furman Chevrolet Mazda in Tampa, in Brandon and Tampa, Brad Wise. And gentlemen, thanks for joining us, man. Looking forward to a really good show.
Well, we're going to start, and we'll start with Justin. And our topic this week, I think we circulated to you, is how do you lead in a millennial-dominated employee pool? And our first question, Justin, is how do you motivate those guys?
Man, motivation is something that has to be done every day. You know, it's something that has to be consistent. You know, one thing that I've always done with whatever team I have led is, you know, how you start your day is how the day goes. And I'm pretty confident on that. So each and every morning at about 5:30 to 6 o'clock, I send everyone in the sales department some kind of motivation or some kind of inspirational text every single morning with a video for everyone to watch. And then throughout the day, I'll ask them if they've watched it. So that's how I start, and I start motivating. But again, it starts with a productive and positive sales meeting as well. And that kind of goes throughout the day. But, you know, motivation is something that should be done all day, every day, you know, in the makings of every deal. You know, motivation is so important, and it's so important.
Do you do something different, though, Justin, as it relates to millennials versus your other employment staff?
You know, I noticed that a lot of the more of the millennials are more likely to listen to some of like the guys like Eric Thomas or Gary Vee or some of the younger, I guess you could say, videos. So possibly, yeah. I mean, I would say they're more likely to listen to a video. It's kind of funny you guys were just talking about that.
Okay.
So Brad, let me go to you, man, and just jump in this because right now, you know, we, you know, I know you're looking for great people always, and you have a very unique, you know, way, and I think it starts with you, but I think that it can be taught. You know, it comes from your desire. Every time we eat dinner together, or I talk to you, you know, you're always relentlessly pursuing good people. You know, and so my question is, I mean, I don't know if there's a question or an answer to this, just one answer, but where do you recruit the A players without giving away your secret sauce of, you know, a specific, you know, area that might give away something you don't want to, but where do you do it? How do you do it? What's the secret to A team players? Because right now there are there are a lot of people. We just hired some folks recently here that are just incredible. I mean, the best I've seen in a long time. And, I told my crew that what's going on right now, I think if it did anything, it allowed us to stand out where otherwise we might have just not stood out. So there are a lot of people that are available, and not every opportunity would be a great opportunity for them. I happen to believe we're a great opportunity. We landed some really good people. So in your opinion, how do you find A-team players right now?
Can you hear me okay, Dave?
We can. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks for having me on the show. Hi, Brett.
Hey, how are you, buddy?
Good. I have two points on that subject is, birds of a feather flock together, and the quality of your career is a direct reflection of the expectations of your peer group. So you go out and you find your really good young people that you have already, and their friends are generally just like them. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be hanging out with them. So I've actually taken that, and I've gone, I don't know if this is PC or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. There is no doubt that our top performing people are immigrants. And we could talk about why that is, but I think we can assume that. But they also know people that it's sort of like an Amway, so to speak, if they bring in people that work out, they get a taste of what their success. In other words, if somebody, I have several young salespeople that are just killing it with very little experience, and they're getting by on sheer enthusiasm and passion.
They don't know what they don't know.
Which I find rare with millennials, which I'm not going to be popular in this program if you give me too much time. But these I do, and they have friends that are just like them. And if they bring them on board and they mentor them, they're almost their manager. And I'll give you a real specific example that they get a piece of every car they sell for the rest of their career. So the answer is where you find them is you find the ones that already are what you want, and they probably know people just like them. And then B is social media. It's unbelievable. As you probably know, I'm working with Glenn Lundy now, and Glenn is working with our store for that specific reason, is that there's no new message that Glenn is really telling my people. He's just saying it in a different way, because I think millennials respond to him more than they do to me. I realize not everybody's going to be like me, and everything that I say isn't quite going to resonate. Just like Justin was saying, these young people are into Eric Thomas and Gary Vee, where I may not like them, I might like another message, but that's great that I like that. But where are we getting? If they don't like that. So Glenn has done a great job with us on working with our young management team, and right now I couldn't be more proud of how our managers are responding to that training and the results that they're getting.
Keying off of something you said, though, Brad, is that Zig Ziglar used to say. He said when people come over from overseas, he said they pull, of course, at the time there was newspapers, now it's online, right? He said they'd look at the classified ads and go, wow, I can't believe that they pay that much for that job. Where the locals look at it and go, I'm not working for that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I got a question, a follow-up to you, Brad. So they give you more time here to further comment on that. But, I was thinking, as you were saying, like about the millennials and so forth, and I think sometimes we give them a bad rap, and I'm not defending millennials. I'm just talking about the fact that I think it might be everybody. Like, it's just that I think the millennials that maybe aren't hungry today, they still kind of like dress like and look like maybe the millennials that are hungry, and maybe whereas older generations, you can kind of, maybe they look a little different, what have you. But, I know some people my age that are just satisfied, that are just like, they're just complacent. They're just, they don't look at things positive. You get around them, and I don't hang around them, but you go family reunions and they're negative, and, like, I got to, it's almost like, I hear you saying, and I want to put this back in your lap. It is, you got to find them regardless. You got to look for the good people regardless of what generation they're part of, right? I mean, there's still good people out there that are hungry and ready to make something happen, and they're looking for somebody that's going to give them the opportunity, right, to earn a living.
Yeah, I think your generation and my generation, it was beat into our head to work your way up. Mm-hmm. You start at the bottom and you do whatever is necessary, and you'll get noticed, and then you'll keep moving your way up and stay at the company for 34 years and you retire and they give you the keys to they give you a watch or whatever. I think that was kind of beat into us. Well, the millennials aren't. That is not something they aspire to. They want to do different jobs every 2 years. It's just different. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's just their mindset is different. So this is like the first time in history that people my age are in demand in the marketplace, where maybe 30 years or 20 years ago you had to worry about the Justin Jericks taking your job. The young hot shots, push the old guy out and get the young people. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's the people of your generation, Dave, in the roles that we're in is what employers are looking for. So, but the millennials who do get it, the Justin Jericks, and there's a lot of them out there. I mean, I know a lot of them. They stand out. So this is a great opportunity for them to really make a move in this business, because when I was Justin's age, I wanted a BMW, a Rolex watch, and Christy Brinkley. I had the posters on my wall.
In that order?
I don't think millennials have that on their wall.
Was it in that order, Brad? Was it in that order?
No, I don't know. I could be wrong on all this, so I'm just telling you how I feel because I'm around millennials all the time, and I talk about this all the time. I'm not sure that's what they want, but if you're in sales and commission, it's got to be what you want.
For real.
And if it isn't what you want, it's okay. It's just the wrong business for you. This business, you have to be hungry and passionate, and you have to laugh at salary, and you have to say, if it's up to me, if it is to be, it's up to me. And the quality of my paycheck is a direct reflection of the effort I put into it.
I love it.
This business is. Go ahead, Justin.
No, I was gonna say I love it. I always say that. I love that.
Yeah. So, but I just find it rare. That's all I'm saying.
Harrison, why don't you weigh in on that?
I think what's unique about millennials is that there's a lot of variety on what motivates them. I think a little bit older generation, it was always, I'll work hard because I want the money. Like he was saying, the Rolex, the Ferrari, the big life. I try and figure out what exactly it is that's going to motivate each one, whether it be time off, an easier schedule. Some of them it is money. Some of them it's trips. Some of them it's gifts. Some of it it's cash. So I try a shotgun approach on a new hire to just kind of see and what motivates them, what they like, what makes them smile, what they work for. And then once I figure that out, it helps me put out the right incentives for them to get them going.
So Harrison, so it's interesting because what I hear you say is it takes some work and it takes leadership, because the reality is, if you're not cut out as a leader or as a manager or general manager watching right now, if you're not, if you're having struggles with this, maybe look in the mirror and say, how much attention am I paying to it? Because what you just told me is I've got to treat everybody individually and find out what makes them tick, because it's not a one size fit all. If I really want to maximize and get the most out of it, because here's the reality, we're trying to grow as business people, as dealerships, we're trying to sell cars. And if we can find out what makes each and every one of them tick to the fullest, then we're going to sell more cars and accomplish our goals.
That's right.
I mean, the best way to accomplish my goal is to figure out what moves the people that are making my goals come true, and so why do you think that, so is that the key? You think that most leaders, or a lot of managers, I should say, I'm going to stop using the word leader, because if they're not doing it, how effective at leadership are. But is that the case? You think a lot of managers aren't willing to invest or don't have the processes in place to invest into figuring out what makes people tick, so they don't really ever get a chance to see them reach their potential?
Well, I think it's just, there's so many metrics that you have to watch managing a dealership or dealerships. And, most of them come back to numbers, to profit, to money. But asset management is the overwhelming big thing that you need to do. And what better asset do you have than your employees? And so, you find, okay, I'm having a deficit here. This is something I need to pay attention to. So then it becomes, just like if your PVR is low or anything else, this is what I'm focusing on every single day. This is where I'm putting extra effort in because I need to improve this area. So it's just one of those metrics that tends to get overlooked because it doesn't tie directly to dollars, but in the big scheme of things, it has a lot to do with it. So, more effort would definitely produce better results, just like anything else.
Fred, why don't you weigh in on that from Bellefontaine, Ohio?
Right on. I really think a lot of it right now, what you're seeing is people are leading by their feelings like these millennials are all about their feelings more than caring about the car and stuff like that on our end, what we're seeing. You know, it's having a fun work environment and trying to make it exciting for them to come in. A lot of them are in tune with the internet and doing different things. So we try to include them in a lot of different pieces of that, which is helping a lot. Work schedule, being flexible, seems to be a lot more important too more than ever. One of the things that we started looking into, and like even in our service department, is having split shifts and even working 4 days a week. So, and that's something we're playing around with. It's kind of getting a little bit of traction too, where they're working 4 10s, still getting the productivity and stuff like that. So we're just throwing around some different ideas that's kind of thinking outside the box, because they're wanting to think outside the box, and it's kind of that's helping so far.
Have any of you guys had any experience with different work schedules working? Has anybody done anything like that, or Brad, are you still just working them like 80 hours?
No, we are
like 80 hours.
Our work schedules are very reasonable for automotive retail, but I really don't micromanage the schedule. If people get the job done, they can pretty much do whatever they want. If they have a soccer game to go to, just go. I mean, that's how you get good people. I mean, just the fact that they know that they have something really juicy or really cool to do, that they can go, then they can go. And then we promote cross-training, where wouldn't it be great if the F&I manager could fly the desk as well in an emergency and give everybody a Saturday off once a month? So we talk about that all the time. So if I hire a hitter manager or a hitter salesperson, I need to get out of their way, and I need to make things as easy as possible for them to do their job, not get in their way. That's that's my agenda every day, is to create to create a playground for the most talented people.
That's good.
Yeah, one of the things that we were talking about this the other day, and one of the things that we were talking to a couple of new recruits that were in that millennial category, and I said to them, I understand that different motivations. I think a couple of you guys talked about time off. Somebody said they have a different type of they're in their feelings, but the reality is we can flex on all those things if they perform.
Right.
We can alter work schedules. We can give them the whatever motivates them. If it's time off, if it's recognition, if it's a shorter work environment, whatever that is. But what I told these guys, I said, you still got to perform. And so when you're here, here's the things that you have to do. You can't sell a car to your friend. You can't sell a car sitting on the computer playing on the internet. You can't sell a car by not prospecting, by not getting in front of a customer, by not doing something that's pushing that prospecting ball forward. And I think that when I hear go to conferences and I hear a lot of people talk about millennials, they act like you can't lead these people and expect performance out of them. And my experience has been the opposite. It's just, what is their reward system? Mm-hmm. And I think going back to what Brad said earlier is that the reward system used to be X, now it's Y, and the leadership is the one that adapts to doing it a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin, drop off for a second. I think we're going to get him back on, but I want to bring up something kind of going into that category of leadership or bringing him up. And Justin, I'll direct this to you. Kind of giving them an opportunity to become a future leader, right, and growing them. One of the things we've done, I'll just kind of use in my own experience, collaboration. I used to not do this. I mean, listen, if I'm like most of you guys, I'm a type A, I'm alpha, I'm like to be in control. I think my ideas are always right, by nature. I think that. I don't believe that if I really think about it, but I think that. And the reality is that's obviously crap. And my wife tells me all the time. But, the deal is I have learned over the years, and I've actually become very good at it. And by the way, one of the ways I do it, if I have to do it this way, is I stay out of the meetings. Because if I can't not control it, I just don't go in there. And I give them the ability to collaborate. And here's the thing. Someone taught me a long time ago, give them a win. In other words, everyone has a lot of ideas, and they think their ideas are great. and all of them are right, which is also crap. But the reality is there are some good ones, and even so, give everybody a win. Let everyone's idea come to the table and be used once in a while. And what you do is, I've seen through that collaboration, people come alive, and then they become ambassadors for the vision and become ambassadors for the dealership, the company. They then go out of their way to come up with more ideas and to make things happen. So Justin, I think I know the answer to this, by being around you a little bit. What's your experience with that? Have you kind of tapped into that at your dealership and your leadership?
Hey, full disclosure, before Justin talks, he can't be too much of a millennial. He's got a traditional calendar in front of him.
Yes, true.
That's something I think that is crucial with how you start every day. Like I told you, we listen to. I send out a morning text with video every single morning, but I also start our morning meeting. And, I take the previous day, I take something out of it that's positive. There's someone that did something right, whether they did a great job with the customer or did whatever they had done. We go over a couple of those. We name a couple people in front of everyone. So, everyone realizes that what they do is not going unnoticed. And I think that's so important because, you have to let them know that when the good stuff is happening, you're paying attention. But, after that, after you talk about the great stuff, whether it's surveys or they took a tough customer who didn't want to drive or do anything, you take them through the process. After you go over all that great stuff that everyone is doing, that's when you can come into that, you can criticize a little bit, or, maybe not necessarily criticize, but do something just a tiny bit better to make that day just a tiny bit better.
That's good.
Harrison, where would you say is your biggest challenge as it relates to the millennial-dominated employee pool?
I think it's just the general stigma of the car business. It's hard to, you get somebody coming out of high school, coming out of college. They're not wanting to go in the car business. You see it in the way people buy cars nowadays. An older person wants to negotiate, go back and forth. The younger person wants just a simple price, make it easy. So as somebody coming out of college, they're not comfortable with the negotiation, and that's just what they think it all is. And that's just not what it's about at all. So I find that to be the challenge. If I can get a resume, get them inside, sit down and talk with them, show them our culture, then I feel like their guard comes down. They realize, hey, this isn't a bunch of cheesy car salesmen, that this is actually a wonderful career. And it's a lot of great relationships are made, and it's a great place to be.
So what you just said, it's just like the road to the sale. If I can get them out and get them in the test drive, I got them, huh?
Exactly. So,
Brad, I'm gonna give you a good idea, Brad. I think any of you guys should do, but we've done this a couple of times and really have come out of it. But I think I could see this at your dealership. An internal job party affair. For instance, bring some food in, have it at the dealership.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Absolutely, and have everybody just bring them in to celebrate food, whole deal. And then we did this, and we've done this over the years a couple of times, and we have 3 or 4 people that are still here. We've hired multiple positions that way. When we were hiring for all positions, we hired marketing and all types of things. But that's a great way to do it as well, because I think that Harrison hit the nail on the head with the stigma, right? The car business.
I think he's right. But
the kryptonite to that is, what Brad said earlier, which is how he hires, bring friends and referrals. And because the thing is that if you know somebody that loves their job and is doing well, it really, at that point, then, that kind of trumps that stigma, so to speak. And so one way to get that, I think, to broadcast out at a big level is to make it a big frenzy, have a big party.
I agree with that.
I can see you doing
Dave,
that, Brad.
Those young individuals I was talking about, their lives are completely changed. So their friends have to notice something's going on with them, that they're making 4 times as much money as they were before. And that even lends itself even into attracting that person to want to hear more about what you're doing.
Absolutely.
It's I just want to say something super quick. It's so funny that Brad said that, because I could not agree anymore. We have this young kid that just got out of high school, and he's been with us a couple months, and he's actually doing well. It's funny what happens when people, you show them a great path and they start making money, because he sent in the 3rd person today. We've hired one of his other friends, and another one just came in today because this kid's showing him their paychecks, and he just bought a brand new Stinger. So
maybe we just exposed a fallacy, because y'all started out saying they're not motivated by money.
Let me say this. I never have said that. I never have said that because
maybe they just don't think it's possible, and you're showing them that it's possible.
Or they don't want to do what's required.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I've done a lot of studying on this, and one of the things that a couple of years ago, because I wrote a couple articles for Forbes on this, and doing that, we studied, and our whole marketing team had this exercise to do. I found out one of the reasons that millennials, have this issue is because a lot of them, and this is a statistic that came out, a lot of them come from broken families. And that they had this idea that their family was broken at a young age because of work, and so there was this issue with a lot of them that had an animosity towards working so much that so there was that type of issue that you had to overcome. So I don't think it's the money. I think that's why Harrison, a lot of times it's the schedule as well. So I think if there's the ability to show them that both can be accomplished, a healthy work-life balance, they want to make money. So that's my opinion, but that is a challenge.
Well, I think a couple of these guys talked about work hours, and I just know that, the idea was 30 years ago, I don't care how well you're doing, 8 o'clock to 8 o'clock or 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock and 6 days a week and every Saturday. And I do think that millennials are not going to do that. And it's getting to where even non-millennials are not going to do that. You have to have some kind of hope.
I'm a millennial, and I think I probably work more than anyone in this dealership.
But you're the GM.
But you're an anomaly.
You're an anomaly.
And you're also the GM. And that person that's willing to do that is the one that's going to be slated to go to the next level because that's what it takes.
Not everyone.
The person that wants a 40-hour work week and flex hours and all that, they're going to be a great individual contributor, but they're not going to be a leader because a leader's got to put in more than they need to up front. So down the road they can enjoy that type of schedule. But you got to put a lot in up front. But I'm just saying the typical individual contributor that's doing well, they're looking for that. They want a couple Saturdays off a month. They want to be able to leave a couple early nights and go to the baseball games and be involved in their family life and all those kind of things. Whereas I think that's the polar difference. I was teasing y'all about the money, but that's the polar difference is today versus what it used to be is that if you came in, it was 8 to 8 or 8 to 10, and that's just the way it was,
Yeah.
And people came after it because of the large paychecks,
And speaking of that, let me give you guys throw a question out there as we got a few minutes here left, and growing them to become future leaders. Because here's the thing of the car business of old, and it's still out there to some degree, not with any of you and not with most people that are going to be on this show would not fall into this category, but most people in the car business aren't on this show. So, it's still out there where if somebody sees somebody if somebody's a general sales manager or a desk manager or GM that sees somebody very talented, they don't want to showcase them for fear of this person might pass me up. I'm a proponent of nobody can push you out. They can only push you up, and if they can put, and that's my opinion. But that exists, and that fear. So my question is, if you get somebody, Justin, that's like you, or see somebody that wants to be like you and working like that, then typically that person's probably going to become a leader under you, and then quickly want you to help them become a GM at one of your other stores eventually, or they're going to leave. Because there's that law of the lid of leadership that's got to be there to some degree. So how do you grow them? To become future leaders. What do you how do you do that? Brad, I'll go to you first. I know you're a student of leadership. You read a lot. You study a lot of people that are successful. Do you have some insight on this?
You just said it. I've studied some of the greatest car people and leaders in my career. Just if you look at my to-do list in the last 3 or 4 months, I've heard the word Churchill on 3 different podcasts that 3 very successful people read Churchill's biography. So I have it on my list to read that. It's just, you have to be a lifelong learner. You have people that have actually done what it is that you want. You need to find out what they have for breakfast. You can't just figure it out and do it your own way.
Absolutely.
You can put your own twist on things, but essentially you need to find out exactly what it took, what they did in that situation. With Google now, they didn't have Google, when I was starting out in the car business. Just about I can remember when I was a young GSM, when I had to terminate someone, I could just Google the best way to terminate someone. Think about you just have you have everything at your fingertips to be able to find the things out. So learning is a really big one, and modeling. people. For instance, right now with Alex Flores has got a lot of content on social media, as you know. Glenn Lundy, another one. These are two guys that are very accountable. I mean, that's the one thing that Alex, you get out of his talks, is that you're going to get eaten alive in his dealership if you're not in it to win it and as passionate as he is. Same thing at Dan Cummins Chevrolet. You're going to be exposed. And working with Glenn as long as we have now, there's a lot of accountability there, and you wouldn't really know that from maybe his Saturday meetings that are all, it seemed like there's sunshine and rainbows. There's a lot of accountability there. One of the words is that we've been working with is that people shouldn't feel safe when they're underperforming at your store. I've come to the realization that I've created an environment that it's safe to have 4 cars out on the 16th. Well, that's what I'm working away from that direction, that it's not, that they shouldn't be safe to feel in their own skin if they're not performing or doing the kind of activities that it takes all day long, like these. So in other words, I'm modeling myself after somebody that's done something that I want to do. Alex Flores sells 1,000 cars a month. Glenn Lundy, 1,000 cars a month. Why would I go east looking for a sunset? Okay,
that's good.
Success leaves clues. So, and the one thing I'm finding from those two is accountability, and that's something that's pretty far from some of the ideas that we have in dealing with millennials about flex schedules and creating a Google atmosphere with playing pool and timeouts and things like that. I'm not trying to undermine that, but maybe in a sales business where it's commission, maybe the environment has to be a little bit more accountable instead of I don't know. I guess you kind of figure out yourself. The best way to describe it is if you Google boiler room in Grant Cardone. It's about a 30-minute video, and they show the training of a young millennial on the phone with a manager breathing down his neck, showing him exactly how to do it. And that video I play all the time, because they're not just putting a young person in a room and say, memorize the script. They got the manager leaning right over his shoulder, showing him how to do it. And for 40 minutes, he's repeating the same word track over and over and over. Well, that could be scary to a lot of people. And if it is, this really is not the kind of business you really should be in. But that's really what it takes. And the last thing I'd say on this is you really have to get into a good store. You're right, Brett. If you're in a store that's still beating people up, the managers are real cocky and working people bell to bell. Nobody, not millennial or who you are, nobody wants to do that. You got to be in a really good store, and that's the first key to the whole thing.
I think part of what you're saying there, Brad, is that when the millennial thing first came up, people got so mesmerized by it or so fearful of it that they went straight to flex time and straight to environment and realized that you have to produce. Okay, we can do all those things for you, but if that's your reward system, but you have to do something to get the reward.
Right.
You know, if you produce and you want to leave at 4:30 one day to go to a baseball game, great, no problem.
Yep.
But if you didn't produce, you got to go. And what you're saying is that we fell into that trap a few years ago. And what happens is the deal where you're safe on the 15th if you have 4 cars. And the deal is what you do is you cheapen that job to that 25 car person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because they're saying my job's worth the same, even though they're not. They're looking at we're looking at the pay. We're going like, well, if they do 4 cars, it's not that big of a deal. They're not making a lot of money, but the people that are involved in your organization are going, that job means the same as this 4-car guy, and he's not putting any effort in. You know?
Right.
Yeah. That's
Or
good
he's not
stuff.
required to, right?
So let's do this. Harrison and Fred, we'll give you guys. We'll go to Harrison first, then Fred, and give you guys a chance just to give some closing remarks. You know, just anything you've heard Justin how to jump, and so we'll wrap it up with Harrison and then Fred. Harrison.
Yeah, you know, just back on growing an individual through the business, promoting them. I think, you know, it's important that you look for certain qualities that a manager needs. You can make the mistake by just promoting your top salesperson every time. And that's not necessarily who is going to be the best manager.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, looking for, you know, people skills, empathy, and slowly layering on different levels of responsibility as far as managing people really shines a light on whether or not they can handle it. I just think it's again important that you start with the right person and identify the right person. And it's not always your top salesperson, but it could be another individual that's above average salesperson, but also has a lot of other qualities that you're looking for.
It's good. Thank you, Fred.
Fred. There he is.
I was going to say Fred.
Yeah, you there?
You were frozen, brother.
Yeah. My phone was cut in and out there.
Nope.
He's cutting in and out.
Cutting in and out there. Can you hear us?
Are you there?
Yep, we hear you.
Yeah, I'm moving where I was at here. So, yeah, on all that, everything you're saying there, as far as, I want to clarify one thing on the whole piece with feelings, right? It was just the way you manage them. You know, the old school yelling at them, getting in their face to get the most out of somebody, to motivate them doesn't work. And that's the piece, I guess, on the feelings end of it. They just leave. They don't come back. So, it's just changing up the style, the way you manage their strengths. And as far as the changing up the schedules and stuff like that, you reward the people that are doing the best, that come to work every day, that work the hardest. They're the ones that get the reward. So just to give it to everybody, like you said, it does cheapen up the people that are putting in all the time and energy and effort when you just give it to everybody. And even when you give it to the people that you feel like you need people, so you can't let go of people. I think all that's changing now. I noticed when the $600 went away, we got flooded with resumes and people looking for jobs when that happened.
I don't know if you noticed, but today they announced it very undercover that we had the lowest weekless jobless claims that we've had since it started this past week. So it's under 1 million.
Under 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that. And with that, though, when the 600 went away, all of a sudden we got inundated with people that's wanting to come back to work. And I think once all this kind of pans out a little bit, you're going to see an influx of people, because there is, at the beginning when you started the show, you said however many people were going to be out of business. You know, how many of these small businesses are going out of business? These entrepreneurs that's not going to make it on the other side of this, not in the car business, just in every business. So I think your talent pool is going to be a lot better. So you are going to be able to pick through a lot better pool of people coming forward. So as with food, go through your process, find the best, and I think there's going to be a great big pool to choose from here soon.
Nice.
That's good stuff, man.
Want to go into our question of the week?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's do it.
Well, Brad knows he's been on since we've done this, but what we try to do is we're trying to bring more topics to the dealer body that really serve you guys well. And what we would ask you, and we'll start with Justin, is what would you like to hear us cover, and what would help you and serve you?
Justin actually dropped off a minute ago.
All right, we'll go to Harrison. Same question.
I think right now the most exciting part of the business is the used car business. It's just a roller coaster every week. is just so dynamic. So I think any question related to that is a lot of fun and could be educational for anybody listening.
Okay. How about you, Brad?
This might sound off the wall, but it would be great to hear from middle of the road millennial salespeople, not superstars that are household names, and ask them what they think is broke, what's awkward, what's missing, and we're in a safe environment where they can say anything without any repercussions. Like I can think of one or two sales, like a panel of millennials, young salespeople. Well, I didn't hear that, Brad.
I said no picture.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe these guys will rumble their voice too.
No name, no picture.
Yeah, just we all might learn something that we could use. What
we could do, and Dave probably's got the technology to do this. What we could do is do a survey and send it out with questions and get the feedback, and then announce that to the panel.
I think that would be better, because then they could say things about their managers.
Right,
they could say things about their general managers.
That's
they
a good
could say
idea.
stuff like that. I'd love to hear. I do that I do that here quite often, where I do an internal survey about anonymously what's missing, what's awkward, what do our guests hate, what do you hate, and you'll find some common denominators there of things you didn't realize. So that would be a great topic.
I love that.
How about you, Fred?
As they're doing digital dealer, I would say advertising. I would say as what's changing in all the trends, as everything with social media, from SEO, SEM, just all those pieces of it. As far as what is coming in the pipeline, I know you guys are really in the forefront of all that, and what you see coming, what's working, and where everyone sees the future of that. So
that's good.
And I know on your end, you can add a ton of value on that end of it. So
I know that the internet was supposed to make it more specific and spend less, and it's really created murky thing where you feel like you got to spend twice or three times what you used to spend.
Right.
That's a great topic.
Yeah.
It's called wasted distribution.
Correct.
Like, what are you throwing money at that you shouldn't? Awesome, man, guys. Excellent panel. Would thank Justin as well. So Harrison, Fred, Brad. I know Corey couldn't be with us today. We'll get him back on, and then Justin. Thank you guys so much for this as well. And
appreciate you guys.
Look forward to having you guys on again, man. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you,
Brad. I'm gonna be calling you. I got a question on Chevy.
Okay, I'm here for you.
All right.
Awesome. Well, guys, what a great panel.
That was awesome.
Just a wealth of knowledge. I love I love so much about those topics. We've had multiple topics like that. We've discussed many times in the past marketing, and we get tons of responses off of that, because every dealer does it, and every single solitary dealer struggles with what to do, and because they spend so much money, it's where their money's going every month. It's got to be. I mean, that would be like wanting to know like what food's good. You know, I mean, we eat 3 times a day, and somebody saying, "Hey, I'd like to discuss what tastes good and doesn't," and what's good for you. I mean, it's just that simple. But
what I took out of today is be a river, not a reservoir, because you got people that are on this show today, and what these guys are kind of embellishing. All those guys are top performers.
Oh yeah.
And these top performers are willing to share their best ideas. Not once you said, "Hey, you might not want to share." Boom, they went right into sharing.
Yeah.
And they're being a river, not a reservoir, because they know they're going to execute well and execute at a high level, and they're willing to share that information.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
Well, another one in the books.
Yes, sir.
Well, hey, listen, in case you guys missed it early on, Digital Dealer, October 6th and 7th, we're going to be broadcasting live as the day one keynote. At the end of the day, Auto Dealer Live, Brett and I, we're going to have an all-star guest panel. We're going to probably wear our producers out, probably have more guests than we've ever had before. Look at Mike's eyebrows.
I know.
Just bringing them on left and right.
What do you mean? I'm stone-faced right now. I already expected that.
And well, Mikey looks at us with that go to hell look. If looks could kill. Hey, and don't forget my buddy here is going to be emceeing that whole event. So y'all follow him on Instagram, follow him on Facebook, follow him on Twitter. He's got the Game Changer, Inspire You. And
follow this guy too,
and look at him at the Digital Dealer Conference, because he's going to be all over that thing.
We'll start next week. We're going to start giving away tickets. We've got they've given us some dealer passes to give away to you. It's going to be virtual this year, October 6th and 7th. And you know what? I tell you what, man. I know a lot of people are looking forward to. They were looking forward to going, and now I think it's going to bring, like you said, it's going to bring a lot more attendees, just simply because people can get away and kind of just really focus on this, and it's been just less getting together. I think just getting the dealer body together has not been there's not been as much of it in any way, shape, or form. So I think that this is going to be welcomed.
We might be able to put that survey question into Digital Dealer. I mean, that may be something we want to look into. Is that one that Brad was talking about, to survey the millennials?
Oh, that's a really good.
Yeah, that might be something we could put into Digital Dealer and create some kind of workshop around it, and then be able to push that information out to all the dealers nationwide, so that they can kind of get the benefit of that study.
We could actually probably, if I can get Mikey and I will reach out to our contact at Digital Dealer we might be able to actually do that show that day.
Well, that would serve people well, and I think what Brad's saying is, try to make it anonymous ahead of time so that people will answer it accurately. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to get into a who shot John, but what you want to do is look for patterns that seem to come up over and over and over, and those are usually the things you got to fix.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time.
All right, baby.
All right. We out.
All right.